Thank you, Christina. There's a disclaimer there. Silica sand. I want to talk to you about silica sand, and then I'll talk to you about a couple of our projects. Silica sand is the most used commodity on the planet after water. 50 billion tonnes a year. Now, over 49 billion tonnes are used in concrete, and therein lies the problem. At the moment, all the stimulus spending that's going on in Asia is predominantly infrastructure and predominantly concrete. Now, the concrete manufacturers are using up silica sand at such a rate, Asia is running out of sand. Now, the glass makers who need silica sand are not getting the opportunity to even get a hold of any silica sand because it's going into concrete. So even sand that could be beneficiated up to glass quality, they're not getting a look in. Now, the number of products that are made out of silica, you'll be amazed. You're surrounded by it, not just the screen I'm looking at here, the LCDs, paint, filtration, plastic. Even the little plastic bottle's got a bit of silica sand in there. Your tyres on your car, you'll notice nowadays it says silicon rubber. Not much latex in rubbers in tyres these days. Plastics, paint, containers, container glass, and the big one that's moving at the moment, solar panels. So we'll have a talk about the quality you require to make solar panels. So VRX Silica pivoted into silica sand in 2017, and I did that at the time because I read an article, I think it was The Economist, which said that China had made silica sand a strategic mineral. So I put it in the same bag as uranium and rare earth. And I was like, what the hell? Yeah, there's got to be silica sand everywhere. And you think deserts, think beach. That silica sand is not suitable for making concrete, and it's not suitable for making glass. You need sort of silica sand that's been derived from granites, preferably. So we've got 4 projects here in Western Australia. Of course, we know, this destination is probably the best place in the world to be mining anything. These are multi-decade, contiguous, and very significant high-grade silica sand resources. And we're easily the most advanced. We've got into this a number of years ago. We've done an enormous amount of test work. In fact, we've got a patented flotation process which has replaced spirals. And permitting and infrastructure agreements, we've had a number of those in place for a while. So we've got mining leases granted over 3 of the projects. Arrowsmith North is our leading project, and that'll be followed by Maluish, Arrowsmith Central and Boyatup. Maluish, obviously only 50 k's north of Perth. Arrowsmith, but sits between Eneabba and Donga, about 270 k's north of Perth. And that'll get exported out of Geraldton. Maluish will get exported out of Kwinana. And we've got another project about 100 k's east of Esperance. Our Arrowsmith and Maluish projects are right next to existing infrastructure, Brand Highway, gas pipelines, railway lines. So, and we're getting an enormous amount of interest out of Southeast Asia. I think we've got over 65, probably closer to 70 nowadays. I'm getting inquiries weekly. Every Asian country has banned the exports of silica sand. They're all concerned about their own domestic supply. Now, Australia is uniquely positioned, particularly WA, because the Swan Plain has got plenty of silica sand. Not easy to get to, but there's plenty there. So we've got an enormous amount of interest. So it's out of the first 65 companies that have given us a letter of interest or an expression of interest, 45 are from China. We're ignoring them for the moment. But these are very long term. We've got over 1 billion tonnes of silica sand, so these projects will be in place for 100 years, once established. The company, we've got about 550 odd million shares out there. We're market capped at about 87 million. We've got about $8 million in the bank. We're not spending a huge amount of money at the moment. Mostly we're in the EPA process. We have started buying some gear, but we're mainly in the EPA process, which is not doesn't cost a lot of money, it costs an enormous amount of time and frustration, but we are moving ahead with all those. Very experienced board, stockbrokers. I've had about 40 years in the resources industry. We've got executives out of finance and corporate, and also logistics, and a commercial manager who happens to be here today. But Yunil Kim, he's our marketing manager. He's based in KL. He's been selling silica sand for 17 years. We're WA based. Each of the projects is subtly different. And because they're different, they actually go into different markets. So we're not developing projects which will compete with the other projects. So we're looking for completely different markets. Now, even a subtle change in the quality of the silica sand determines, even if it goes into the glass market, it can go into flat glass, automobile glass, container glass, or with the Maluish project, if you can get the sand at a high enough quality, you can go into the ultra clear glass market. And that's growing at an enormous amount because that's the piece of glass that goes over the top of solar panels. And the demand for solar panels, this particular type of glass is probably growing at about 30% per year. As you can see, there's solar panels just appearing everywhere. And if the world's going to get anywhere near carbon zero, they're going to need a lot of solar panels. Arrowsmith North is our first project. We're looking to commence production in 23, subject to environmental approvals. We're well down the track with that. We're all but. We're about to get published, we hope, in the next few weeks for the ERD, the Environmental Review Document, which is the last document we lodge. Probable reserve 223 million tonnes at 2 million tonnes a year. It's going to last more than 100 years. And we've done the process circuit design, and we've engineered a 2 million tonne per year plant. Established infrastructure. We know there's water at the Yarragadee North. We've drilled a bore. It's 400 metres down, but it's got an enormous amount of water. So we've got plenty of water there, and you need a lot of water for these projects. We're also right next door to a gas field, and we're looking at opportunities there to use gas to straight out of the gas well to produce the power we require. We lodged the environmental review document on the 14th of April. EPA assured us that it would be reviewed by the 10th of June. We're still waiting. Unfortunately, we can't push on that, but whenever we get a response from the EPA, if we get a written response, we announce it. But we haven't heard from them for a while. Arrowsmith Central, there's sort of three stages to the environmental process. There's a referral, a scoping document, and then a review document. Arrowsmith Central is having the second stage, the scoping document being assessed now. But we've developed a technique called vegetation direct transfer, whereby we take a sod of earth out in front of where we're mining, and we put it back to where we've already been mining. It's the best technique known for restoration. It's been well established by, in fact, the Luca. But you can imagine there, what we're mining here is loose sand. So the root systems on these trees and shrubs and sedges only go down about 200-300 mil. We're coming along taking a 3 metre by 3 metre by 400 mil sod out, so we keep all the root systems and in fact the invertebrate fauna, we keep it all intact. And we've trialled it, and we're about to start a trial actually at Maluish. Maluish is a little bit different. It's at the first stage of the EPA approval process, but, and I'll show you a photo in a minute, the bulk of the shrubs here are also very small. There's some bigger Banksia trees which are easy to propagate. But established infrastructure, railway line to Kwinana, we're on grid power there. We also have 2 gas pipelines running through this project as well. Next to Brand Highway, it's a granted mining lease, but here we can produce silica sand, 99.9% silica dioxide, and more importantly, less than 100 ppm iron. Now, iron is the enemy when you start making glass. So you need to get below 100 ppm to make ultra-clear glass. And that's the market we're aiming for here at Maluish. So we've got the potential here. I think there was an article in the paper just last week which said that the LNG in Perth now is the cheapest LNG in the world. Now, 80% of the cost of producing gas is energy. So we've got cheap gas, we've got the main ingredient for making silica sand, and as it happens, a couple of the other ingredients are also available here in Western Australia. We would like to be making glass here in Western Australia, and we'd really like to be making solar panels. So that's that's our goal ultimately. Maluish, most of the bushes, the sedges and the grasses are the same as Arrowsmith North. The bigger trees, the Banksia menziesii, they can be easily propagated and we can plant those. It's a simple flow sheet, really. It's mainly screening, but one of the keys here is attritioning. Attritioning is an agitated cell, an agitated slurry where you've got sand grains rubbing on sand grains and it polishes each of the sand grains. The rest of the process is just getting rid of the fine material that you create by polishing these grains. So it's a fairly simple process. A process plant, we actually costed this up in 2019 and it was about $30 million. It's going to cost more now. The price of steel, it's hard to keep up with it. So it'll be more expensive, but we're in the process of redoing our CapEx. This VRX is this VDT. It's a modified bucket on a front-end loader. It's ridiculously simple, but great results, and more important, you don't have to go back and reseed any areas. You get 80% of this vegetation gets back in 3 years. We take our ESG responsibilities seriously, and if you're in the planning stage like we are now, we're able to address a lot of the Sustainable Development Goals. So cheap power from and low emissions gas, and we work well with the Aboriginal communities up there. We're looking to establish a ranger program, mainly to go out there and shoot all the damn cats and foxes. So we think we're in the right time, the right place. Australia will become, it is already a major exporter of silica sand, but from Cape Flattery in northern Queensland. Western Australia will become a very large supplier of silica sand, particularly to Asia. So we've got over 1 billion tonnes, so we're going to be around for a while. We've got Alan Carpenter in 2013. He put in place domestic reserves for gas. All the governments in the eastern states had killed for that. He was castigated for it when he put it in place, but he's a hero now as far as I'm concerned. We've got a long-term supply of essential raw materials. Where our projects are, the area from Lanceland to Dongra or to Geraldton is going to become renewable, as in wind and solar, and hydrogen central. And we're going to smack dab in the middle of all that, and we can take advantage of hydrogen. Nippon Sheet Glass have already, in their Pilkington plant in UK, have already made glass using hydrogen. So technically, it can be done. The opportunity here for ultra-clear glass production from Maluish is very good. And what we'd really like to be doing is making solar panels. We get good support from the state government, and recently we had some meetings with federal ministers, and they're keen as hell for us to make solar panels here, particularly concerned about the supply from China and the sovereign risk involved in that supply chain. But thank you very much.